Hello, and welcome to Another Home Sold, an educational show about real estate, where you hear from the experts on everything you need to know about buying, selling, and maintaining your property. My name is Steve Verdelli, and I'm a realtor with Coldwell Banker, Wellesley's #1 real estate firm for the past 25 years. Today, we're very fortunate to have Preston Alexander from Rock Street Studios. Preston, thank you so much for coming on today.
Well, Steve, thank you for having me here.
It's been a pleasure. Preston is very unique in that you make home videos to really help sell a house, but really to sort of parlay really nicely with the photographs that are professionally taken. But I think it takes it to a different level, especially with the technology age that we're in right now. So before we get into all of that, so tell me a little bit, how did you get into making videos for homes?
Well, I used to be a software engineer for 25 years, and my job just happened to go to India without me. So I decided I wanted to have a career of my own, a business of my own. And since I had done video work in the past, I figured I would go back to it and specialize. I looked around for the different fields I'd be interested in, and I've owned 9 houses of my own over the years. And I love homes. I love everything to do with homes, from buying them to fixing them up. And I said, well, if I married that with my love for video, that would be a perfect match. And I actually happened to see an advertisement for such a position with Coldwell Banker, and they hired me, and I've been working with them for about 4.5 years now as a contractor.
Right. So from layoff, we became entrepreneur, and now you're running your own business.
That is
We
true.
love that. We love that. So let's talk a little bit about what the difference is between what are people calling a video and actually a customized video, that what you do compared to what some other people are doing, which is just basically taking the photographs and putting them to music, which I don't really understand.
That's an excellent question. I'm glad that you brought that up, because many people online will see what they are told is a video of a home. Mm-hmm. And it's actually a photograph that is animated on a computer screen with music to make it look as if it's a video.
But it's ridiculous.
But it's not a video.
No.
It's moving photos.
Yeah.
And the difference is that when you show a true video that's professionally done, it enhances the viewership for that home. It actually does help promote that home towards a sale. You can leverage that video that you make, and not only by showing it online with the real estate listing and the MLS associated listings, but many realtors this day are also using that same video on Facebook and also on YouTube.
Yep.
So it expands their universe of actually reaching the clients and the customers that they're looking for.
And you brought an example of a video that we did together in Dover, so we're going to see that. And you also brought some other videos as well.
Yes, besides doing home videos, Caldwell has assigned me over the years doing what they call an hour town. Let's say that you are a customer who's living perhaps across the country and you have just moved to Dover, and you don't know much about the area. You're very interested in the house, of course, but then what about the town itself? What amenities are there? What type of recreation might there be? Are there any historical sites and recreational sites that you ought to be aware of? Things that would sway your opinion to want to move to Dover.
Those videos are very valuable. And actually, I send those to all of my relos before they come in town. I said, these are the towns we're going to go look at. This is the videos, and then these are the houses. So I'm going to parlay them in together. So
last year, I was very, very busy with our town videos. Besides doing house videos, I did Weston, which is one of the examples we'll see. I spent 2 days in Salem because there was just so much to film there. I used to live in Salem, so I guess I'm a bit biased about how beautiful that town is, but Weston was stunning. Dedham was just an unbelievably beautiful place. I hadn't expected to find such richness. And as I was filming on the streets, I actually ran into the mayor, and wow, very close-knit community.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. And I finished up the Boston area by doing Charlestown.
Oh, very nice.
Which was a walking video film. Anyone who knows Charlestown knows there's very little parking there, and especially with all the equipment I need to carry around, I ended up buying a very large cart with 4 wheels and put all my equipment on it and spent the rest of the day just dragging it from one location to another to film. a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So along with that, what type of equipment do you use to make your videos?
A good question again. What I use is a Canon 7D. It's not a full sensor camera, but it's a 3/4 sensor camera, and it does a superb job with video. But it doesn't end there, it actually starts there. What I use is what's called a camera slider. So actually you have your very heavy tripod, which comes to an apex, and on top of that you find a 3-foot bar that can be horizontal, in which your camera can go sliding slowly, very steadily, from one side back to the other. If any of our viewers are unfamiliar with what the end result might be, I am positive that they have seen a movie on TV that demonstrates a slider. For example, think of the shot, you're inside a house, and you're watching the protagonist go from the living room to the kitchen. And you start off with the slider in the camera, watching the person move through the back. Somehow they end up in the kitchen shot. That's a left to right slide. That's very similar with what we do with houses. But there's an added dimension. This slider also can tilt on the horizontal, so that if, for example, you are at the front of a bedroom going into a master bedroom, you can actually take the camera, position it at the door, slide your way into the room, and the bottom line effect is that you, as the viewer, feel like you are actually moving into the room, and the vista opens up for you.
So it's almost three-dimensional.
Absolutely. It gives a sense of being there, which again, you can't get that from animating a photograph.
So you're going to bring all your equipment in. Somebody wants to sell their house. What does the homeowner need to do in order to prepare for you?
Oh, that's a great question. First of all, the less cluttered a house is, the better it appeals.
Let's repeat that. Repeat that one more time.
Less cluttered.
Less clutter. Less clutter. Less is more.
Take away all the particular family things, including some photographs and stuff. Take that away, pack it away. You're going to be moving anyway. And let the bones of the house come through as well, because that's what people want. In fact, that brings up an interesting question, Steve, that I am called upon many times to film a house that has no furniture in it. And the realtor, the agent, is really kind of skittish about doing so because they're worried that, well, the house won't show as well. In actuality, if there's no furniture in the house, it makes it easier for the person out on the other side of that video to imagine their own things fill in the bones of a house. So if the house has a beautiful structure, don't worry about showing a house that is vacant.
And that's really what you're buying. You're buying the house vacant. You're not buying the house with contents in it.
That's
what people forget.
If there's really great furnishings and it's stylishly put together, it does add a warmth to the house. And when I say warmth, there's other things to do to make it even more sellable. Number one, if you're selling a living room, for example, filming a living room, let's put the television on. Let's put the fan on the ceiling. Let's put all the lights on. Let's make the house look like a home.
Like it's lived
so
in.
that people, when they say it, say, well, I could see myself living there.
Now, you just mentioned something that was important. What about interior lighting? How is that handled?
That is probably the number one challenge for me, and the most important point to keep in mind. You can never have too many lights.
Yep.
Yes.
I know.
Most photographs that I see taken of homes don't have lights on, and I'm always wondering why not. The house looks static. It doesn't look quite alive. But for a video camera, which does not use flash, the camera needs to have as much light on as possible, not only to be able to see the scene properly, the extra light that the camera picks up, they ultimately have different color temperatures to them, and they add such a beautiful warm texture.
So exterior lights as well as interior lights?
Oh, exterior especially. Let's say that even if it's a sunny day and you're filming the front of the house, yet the porch is maybe indented a bit, okay? So it's going to be out of the sun. By putting the lights on there, it just makes the house sparkle, dazzle, makes it look alive.
Right. Preston, what about small or odd-shaped rooms or rooms that have walls of mirrors? How do we get around that?
Well, in my 4.5, 5 years of filming, I have had to become very creative to get around those issues, Steve. That's a huge challenge. For example, many bathrooms that I film, and by the way, bathrooms are so important, especially master bathrooms. Uh, if the wall of mirrors is right there in front of you, obviously you can't be captured in any of these shots. A person who's taking photographs has the leisure to squish off into a corner and click, 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 and that's fine. With a video with this much equipment that I have, you can't do that. So what I do instead is I take a simple milk crate, rest it on the floor, not more than a foot, foot and a half off of the floor, and I position my slider. I take it off of the tripod, put it onto the milk crate, and I am down on the floor and I slide it back and forth. And you can see everything in the bathroom from the perspective of down looking up.
Okay.
Which is interesting in itself because in the world of video, you always have three choices of filming to be answered. One is, the most important is, what angle are you going to film the house at? Straight on, eye level, looking down, or looking up. In the world of video, there are unspoken but very important rules of what that connotes to the viewer. If you are filming a person, for example, and you want to make them diminished in stature, meaning kind of look down upon them, figuratively and literally, you film from a higher angle looking down. If they're a peer, you film straight on. If you want to make them look larger than life, to add a dimension of good quality to them, you film from a lower angle looking upwards, and it's literally looking up at a person. The same situations apply to a house.
So I should be sitting on a lifeguard stand.
Yeah, and I should be looking like sort of like this at you.
Now, Preston, do you go ahead and check the house out before you videotape it? How do you do this? Or do you just show up and it's a surprise every time?
No, I don't like those kind of surprises because in my mind I like to be as prepared as possible for what I'm going to be shooting for that day. So therefore, I will go online, and if the home already has an array of photos, I will study each and every one of them, noting where I would like to position my equipment to get the ultimate shot. Okay, and that's especially true for the exterior, because I don't like to film a house straight on, head on. It's boring. You want exciting shots, so I will try for angles. And by knowing what the house layout is, both outside and inside, especially outside, I will be able to, in my mind, already know. So when I arrive at the site, I don't waste time trying to figure out shots. I already know what I'm going to do. And that's important because there's always a time deadline of how long you can spend at a house, especially on my schedule if I have several houses to film in a day. Ideally, we are told by Caldwell to spend less than an hour, hour and a half there. In reality, for me, that seldom happens because I guess I'm a perfectionist. I will spend 2, 3 hours or more depending on how large the house is.
Yeah. Well, the video that we're going to look at is the house that we filmed in Dover.
Yes.
And I think we started at 11 o'clock in the morning and finished at, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes, yes. That house.
And there was no talking going on. There was no cocktailing going on, nothing. We were working the whole time.
No lunch going on
either.
either.
No, that was a big house.
It was a stunning home.
Yep.
In fact, a home of that stature gets me so excited that I'm like a child let go in a candy store. I'm constantly racing to think how I can improve a shot, where the most flattering angle might be. And one of the things that's really important to keep in mind while I'm doing all this is the framing. Framing is everything. Well, I said lighting was everything. So framing is like right after lighting. And I'll tell you what that means. When you are doing a slider shot, perspective is everything. The ability to show that your camera is actually moving, and I'll explain that. If my camera is sliding and it's filming just a house that's far off, the end result is the viewer rather, is not going to see much movement at all. The house won't be moving much because you're so far and you're sliding only 3 feet. However, if you position your camera right near a tree or overhanging leaves of some sort that are in the foreground, as you are panning your subject, your house, you're seeing much more movement in objects that are closer, and it gives a very pleasing result in that you have multiple sets of movement, fast movement of the leaves that are in front, and a slower movement of the background, and the end result is just quite stunning.
Well, the video that we did in Dover, you were also challenged with an additional task of preserving security, really, for the family as well as for the future buyers. And we specifically only wanted views from the inside looking out. So the video is actually not even of the interior of the house. It's just views from the windows looking out and from the outside looking at the house, which is very unusual from other videos that we've done. But you did a fantastic job at it. And when people watch it, I said, do you notice anything about this? And people are like, no, great views. I'm like, exactly. But we really preserved the integrity and security of the house for the current owners and for the future owners. So thank you for doing that.
Adding to that is one of the things that I will make sure to film is if I see one of those like house protected by signs, which many homes put one of those onto the exterior of the property, I'll make sure to actually catch that in a shot or two because it adds extra security to the people who are selling their house to know that, well, who's ever looking at this, and you're going to have a whole range of people that do, it's an added message that says, hey, don't think about doing anything with this house because it is protected.
By the security system, the dogs, and the dragons down by the moat.
Well, I wasn't going to bring up the dogs, but I'm glad that I wore long pants that day.
Yep, we were both lucky. So let's talk a little bit about post-production. Before we get into that, I also just want to say that, this is not just for multi-million-dollar homes. We're making videos on condos that are $200,000, homes that are $800,000. It's not just the multi-million-dollar home that this is for.
I'm glad you brought that up because when I switch gears so rapidly from doing a multi-million-dollar home to doing a home that's only $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, when I go into that house, they are every much as important to me because I'm looking at it from the owner's perspective. This is their life. This is everything they own right now, and they need to sell this property. Therefore, it is my moral obligation to treat that house with abundant respect. I take that as a solemn duty that I subscribe to, so that when I go into a home of that stature, I am doing the exact same things of rearranging pillows, making sure things look perfect as they can be for that home as I would do for any other home.
That's important to do. Thank you for bringing that up. And this really should be part of your agent's marketing plan. Photographs, video, floor plan, anything that is going to help sell that house. Let's talk a little bit about post-production. Who does the editing and how is that handled?
Good question. In my position as a contractor for Caldwell Banker, by the way, Caldwell has treated me incredibly well over the years that I've worked for them, and I can't say enough about their staff. Edward Pizzari and Christine Kiley, the two people that do my scheduling, and Jason Allen, the manager of the Media Production Center. Awesome people that have backed me 100% and made my life so much easier to do the work that I love to do. So my hat's off to them. They have a unique situation in hand. They have dozens of professional videographers, just like myself, around the nation and including our region here. They have to take all of our various footage and make it look like the Caldwell brand. Therefore, they cannot afford to have each one of us do our own interpretation of what a video ought to be. They instead have us upload our footage to the company and their media center in Waltham. We'll take all the various footage, decide which shots are the best ones that they would like to highlight in a video, add a music track that's based on the agent's request, and package it up nicely into finished product, which runs, by the way, around 2 minutes. Why 2 minutes? If it goes any longer, you start to lose the attention span of your audience. If a person is intrigued by 2 minutes worth of seeing a house, they'll come and see the house in person.
So let's just talk a little bit about the actual selling of this house. Does a video of a home assist in selling the property?
very much so, and I'll give you just one of many examples. Last year, an agent called me ASAP, emergency filming. There was a woman who was losing her home to foreclosure.
Mm.
And when I got there, she was a woman who had lost her husband. It's just really a tragic situation, and she had to get rid of the house, sell it right away, or else it was going into foreclosure. And I did that video for them, and Coldwell Banker bent over backwards to get that online that same evening. Why? Because there were two potential buyers from the South, one in South Carolina, one in Florida, that were interested in that house. That was up here in our region in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
And by virtue of the video that they saw, she had not one, two offers the next day.
Oh, that's great.
And, you know, it made my heart feel warm.
That's great. That's
so
great.
That's just one extreme example. But I will tell you this. In a hot real estate market that we have had this year up in New England, I've actually had less work than normal. And at first it was bewildering to me, and then I realized that houses were not sticking around long enough for agents to say, let's do a video. However, for certain homes, especially the higher end homes, that obviously have a higher price tag, agents nowadays are taking the turn of going ahead and getting photographs and the video ready before they even list the house, so that the moment the listing hits the street and people start to come to their site to see it, they're hit with everything that they could possibly want. Instead of perhaps first starting with some photos of the house and then later adding a video and then wondering if anyone's going to ever come back and check that house out again a second time.
Of course. Having all your ducks lined up.
And there's one agent that I do a lot of filming for that she has taken the art of Facebook to an extreme that has been so successful for her. Donna Gomes, I have to mention her name because she is such a wonderful person and very pleasant, and her personality that she exudes to her clients is one of just incredible tenderness and caring. I love working with her, sort of like with you, Steve.
Thank you.
I haven't known you as long, but what she does, she instantly puts her videos out on Facebook, and then she sends acknowledgments to me for having filmed it. I mean, who else would do that?
That's nice.
And her houses sell. There have been multiple times where she'll have 3 sales pending, all that I've done videos on, and each one will sell right away. And she tells me it's because of your videos. And I'm flattered, and I don't know if that's 100% true, but it definitely weeds out the people who aren't as interested. And it does help.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Preston, thank you so much for coming on today. Preston can be reached at rockstreetstudios.tv, and that number is 617-821-4972. Preston, I look forward to making the next video with you.
Steve, been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Don't go away, because next we're going to go meet with a dynamic dual team from Coldwell Banker, the Gene Piazza-Kathy Vazel team.